two big stories here. Michelle Obama is pushing propaganda and fear, and there's a major update with the Wisconsin judge who was placed on leave. Here's what the former First Lady said.
There's so much bias and so much racism and so much ignorance that fuels those kind of choices. I worry for people of color all over this country. And I don't know that we will have the advocates to protect everybody. And that frightens me. It keeps me up at night.
Now, that is just unfortunate that the former First Lady is having a hard time sleeping due to President Trump's policies. Now, as you guys know, we like to show you what both sides are saying. I like to give you my short opinion, but you got to think for yourself at the end of the day. And this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is a bunch of propaganda, okay? Every single one of us is responsible for our own lives. The decisions we make contributes to the outcomes we get. And as much as she wants people to believe that we should be losing sleep because President Trump is in the White House, that's just not the reality, and nobody should. And if you are, I recommend you seek emotional help. Okay, that's my own personal opinion. Now, let's hear from a professional, the Border Patrol chief. He responded with facts.
I think she forgets a couple of things, Chief. One, her husband was called the deporter-in-chief. And two, she doesn't note that the people that are being deported right now are the worst of the worst, the criminals that have kind of made their way into this country illegally, sir.
So absolutely, you're absolutely right. Deporter-in-chief was the title that he was given. But I want to put this in perspective. Immigration enforcement does not see color. Immigration is a status. You are either a legal immigrant or an illegal alien. And to put it further into context, last year we apprehended and arrested people from over 145 different countries of all nationalities, creed, and colors.
All right, there's a story behind why Michelle Obama said what she said, and why I call it propaganda. There's an American family who lives in Oklahoma. They just moved into their rental home, and ICE, FBI, and U.S. Marshals raided the place, detained the family, seized their property, but did not take them into custody and did not deport them. Now, the reason why this all happened is because 2 weeks prior to them moving into that house, it was identified that illegal aliens were staying there. Now, this is a mistake from the Department of Homeland Security. There's no question about it. But that doesn't mean that we need to discredit the entire mass deportation operation and claim that what President Trump is doing should keep you up at night. And that is the full story. But it doesn't matter because people on the news have a narrative to push. And here's Jessica on the 5 doing just that.
ICE came into the house. There had been immigrants who had lived there, and they moved out a few weeks earlier. This family had just moved in. They came in, they made them go outside, including the girls were taken outside in their underwear. They took their money and their electronics. This is an American family. If that happened to
no one even believes your stories
yeah,
anymore.
And you know what? They rectified
always
it.
fall apart.
And by the way, let me tell you. Let me tell you what else.
What about the Maryland dad? Whatever happened to him?
That didn't fall apart. He's still in
He's
some
MS-13, Jessica.
He is not.
And there are 2 orders of deportation on him. And he lied about being afraid to go back to El Salvador because he had to admit he was an MS-13 gang member.
Keep going back to one person that you think you have a case about. If someone dragged you out of your house in the middle of the night, you would kill somebody.
So if the police came in the middle of the night, dragged me out, come to find out they got the wrong person and I was detained in the process, I wouldn't be looking to kill anybody and send myself to prison. So I don't know where Jessica was going with that. There's no question that law enforcement makes mistakes every single day, but the totality of what they're doing is necessary. Now, what do you want them to do instead? What Joe Biden did? I don't think that's going to work. Now, President Trump is speaking at a rally today in Michigan, and he spoke about his accomplishments with deportations. Take a listen.
If we had not won the 2024 election, oh, does that sound good, right? We won the 24, all that work. The radical left Democrats would right now be importing the next 10 million invaders and giving amnesty to 30 or 40 million illegals, many of them criminals, many of them, frankly, murderers and people of crime at the absolute highest level. Real bad people. It would only be a matter of years or months until America itself became a failed third world nation.
So there's no question that half the country supports what President Trump is doing. And so my question for the other half is really simple, especially for the ones that are eating up the propaganda from Michelle Obama. Are you willing to accept that mistakes will be made in the process of deporting criminal illegal aliens? I really would love to know the answer to that. Because if they're not willing to accept that mistakes will be made, then clearly they don't even support deportations. Now, since we're talking about illegal aliens and deportation, this next story is perfect. Judge Hannah Dugan, the one that was arrested for helping an illegal alien evade arrest. There are now updated details that I think will shock you. Take a listen.
Dana, the court tells us that the judge, Hannah Dugan, is not on administrative relief at this time, meaning that she is still receiving her salary despite the charges she's facing and despite another judge taking on her caseload while her own case plays out. We've also learned, though, that in the weeks leading up to the judge's arrest, ICE had arrested 2 other illegal immigrants here at the Milwaukee County Courthouse, which apparently prompted Judge Dugan to post this notice on her courtroom door stating that anyone who feels unsafe coming to the courthouse can request to have their hearing held over Zoom. That notice is dated 4 days before Dugan allegedly guided an illegal immigrant facing battery charges through a back exit in her courtroom to avoid federal agents waiting to arrest him in the hallway outside. Witnesses say that after Dugan left the bench to confront those agents and tell them to go down the hallway into a separate office to meet with the chief judge, she, quote, walked around the hallway and appeared to be looking for additional agents before she returned to her courtroom, and then allegedly led the illegal immigrant through that back door.
Okay, so let me get this straight. We've got a sitting judge who's supposed to be neutral, putting up signs to comfort illegal aliens, not the victims, not American citizens, but illegal aliens. So if they feel unsafe, I guess they can just zoom into court. And I'd love for someone to explain, please, in the comment section, how is that justice and not activism?
She's now facing at least 6 years in prison for obstructing immigration officers and concealing a person to prevent arrest. But activists and local Democrats are not only protesting her arrest, they are applauding the judge for her actions.
When they went ahead and put handcuffs on our good friend Hannah Dugan, they put handcuffs on the judiciary.
We can see how law enforcement is trying to make the ordinary sound improper.
The country deserves an apology. And yes, Judge Hannah Dugan deserves an apology.
Now, there's a big update about this judge. It is being reported that she has been suspended, but that's not stopping media outlets from reporting this story in a biased way, which is why we're using Ground News. And if you want to check this out for yourself, go to ground.news/Devori. This is an outlet that leans left. Pay attention to the language. Wisconsin Supreme Court suspends judge accused of helping man avoid immigration arrest. And then here's an article that leans right. Wisconsin Supreme Court suspends Milwaukee judge accused of helping illegal migrant evade ICE. Now, if you compare both of those articles, clearly you can see the bias. And sometimes that bias leads to only one side of the political spectrum covering a story. And that's what we would call, ladies and gentlemen, blind spot. And yes, Ground News will help you uncover that. So the bottom line here is I don't want you guys always taking my word for it. I want you to do your own research. But in order to do that, you need a tool like Ground News. So if you want to use this tool for yourself, all you have to do is go to ground.news/Devori, or you could download the mobile app. Just use promo code Devori, and it's going to give you access to everything that I showed you in this video, including 40% off the Vantage plan.
At this point, it's not clear if or when Judge Dugan will return to the bench before her next court hearing on May 15th. She is not up for re-election until 2028, but if state Republican lawmakers get their way, she could be removed from her position before then if she is found guilty.
I just can't make sense of this. That judge is comforting an illegal alien who broke the law and was in courtroom for an alleged assault against an American citizen. So just when you think that the system can't get any softer, here is Democrat Congresswoman Omar not just opposing deportations, people, but actually celebrating that her party is fighting to stop them.
If they thought the first 100 days of chaos would break us, they were wrong. Because across this country, millions of us are standing up for our human rights and our democracy. Judges are fighting back to block these unconstitutional executive orders. Here in Congress, we are fighting back every single day. We are fighting to protect immigrant families from mass detention and deportation. We are fighting to prevent horrific cuts to Medicaid, SNAP, and Social Security. It won't be easy, but we must continue to organize, to speak out, and to build a future that reflects our highest ideals.
Listen, it's already disgusting that Democrats are fighting against deportations instead of finding ways to work with the Trump administration on this. And it's a whole nother thing that they continue to push the debunked claim that Republicans are looking to cut Medicare and Social Security. Now, here's the president himself at the rally earlier today saying this.
We will always protect Medicare and Social Security for our great seniors with no cuts, and we will defend Medicaid for those great people that are in need. House Republicans are working to invest more money in Medicaid than we spend today. The only thing we're going to cut is the corruption and the crooks that take advantage of some of the illegal schemes.
You see, the facts don't back up what she's selling. And to be clear, she is selling fear. And that's why Democrats continue to suffer from a low approval rating. All they do all day long is complain and offer no alternative solutions. This is why people like Stephen A. Smith, his voice continues to get louder. More people continue to listen to him, and he's an outside guy. Here's what he said earlier.
When it comes to immigration enforcement, there is no doubt that Donald Trump has been successful. We can slice it any way we want to, but Joe Biden having an open border policy caused a lot of problems in this nation, particularly the psyche of American citizens. You cannot have folks crossing the border illegally in an undocumented fashion, thinking that that is going to bode well for American citizens. Whether it's courtesy of $53 million in prepaid credit cards that were doled out by the Adams administration, the mayor of New York, whether it's Gavin Newsom in the state of California, indicating that there's some debt issues with Medicare because of the money that you spent on illegal immigration, whether it's crimes in the streets, whether it's the perception that the streets are unsafe in the streets of America simply because of an immigration problem. You cannot have that. And the fact that Trump rolled up in there and cleaned this stuff up, prioritizing border control, definitely is going to be perceived as a plus, whether Democrats and others like it or not.
That is the cold, hard truth. And no wonder Democrats are unpopular. No matter the polls and what they say, Donald Trump is still more popular than Democrats. That's the reality right now. And I think if I was in their shoes, it'd be best to find ways to work with him, not work against him. Again, the problem for that party is at least a third of them will never buy into that. They believe fight all day long and resist everything. And that's why CNN continues to have conversations like this.
So I wonder, as you're looking at Democrats right now and moving into the rest of the year and next year, how you think they are doing at this point in time?
I think they've done a fantastic job at protesting Trump. And I think ultimately at the ballot box, it means very little. And so what I think Democrats are going to have to do is define an alternative. What is their position on taxes? What is their position on tariffs? And just screaming no to everything Trump does isn't going to work. You remember it very well. When I was up on Capitol Hill with Leader Cantor, we were defined as the party of no for a long time, and that didn't go very far. It wasn't until we started defining our own agenda, our own alternatives to big initiatives like Obamacare. And even though those weren't going to pass the House of Representatives, it did give voters a clear choice and a clear alternative when it came to the ballot box. Historically, the president in the midterms is going to lose seats. Republicans don't have a lot of ground to lose there. So do Democrats, how are they going to pivot off things like tariffs? How are they going to pivot off of taxes? How are they going to pivot off of growing global uncertainty with our allies and strategic adversaries alike to provide voters with an alternative? And the alternative really can't be a continuation of the Biden-Harris policies that failed. So really, what are they going to do, and who is going to be the voice?
Yeah, and they don't have an answer to those questions at this moment. But what they do have is fear and propaganda. Now, I don't say those words to be a political hack and try to get you to get upset. No, I say those words because I'm describing exactly what's taking place. And I'm not just saying them just to say it. I'm going to show you why I say it. Take a look at this exchange between the senior editor of Daily Caller and a Democrat who calls in accusing them of looking to take our country back to Jim Crow era, but he's unable to provide a concrete example.
John is in Plainfield, New Jersey, on our line for Democrats. Good morning, John.
Hi, ma'am.
why me as an African American to trust conservative media and Donald Trump? I just don't think y'all are fair, and I personally feel that you want to bring back Jim Crow. And why should we trust you? Will you ever do a story in the black community or talk to black leaders that you might not agree with to find some common ground?
All right, let's let Amber respond.
Yes, we absolutely have covered stories in the black community. And I would pose a question back to you. What is it about the Daily Caller that makes you think we're trying to bring back Jim Crow? Because, as you can imagine, that's a pretty heavy accusation.
Because of some of your attitudes about us.
Like what?
And, like, I think some of the things about DEI.
John, can you give a specific example for Amber?
Like what's going on with the Black History Museum and Trump trying to take it down, and other things about black books and other things like that.
So, John, the president hasn't said that he's planning to shut down the African American History Museum.
I just want you to know those rumors are going on.
So what you're hearing is part of the country who makes decisions based on rumors, who judges the president based on rumors, and they don't do their research. That's why we push ground news a lot on our channel here, because I don't want you guys to always take what I say as fact. I'm going to get things wrong. And I do have an opinion and I do have a bias, just like everybody else. My ultimate goal here is to encourage you to do your own thinking. Even if that ends up with you disagreeing with what I said, at least you're thinking for yourself and not just buying into rumors all day long. But this is exactly what Democrats are selling to their base. So this leads me to the question of this video, where I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below to Michelle Obama. She claims that she cannot sleep at night because of what President Trump is doing. What is your reaction to that, and how legitimate do you find her claims to be? Let me know in the comment section below. Now, earlier today, the media thought it was a great idea to interview Trump supporters and get their reaction to his first 100 days in office. I think you're going to enjoy what they had to say. If you want to check out that video and more stories from earlier today, all you have to do is click on it because it's coming up right now.